part 2 here, the last phrase on this particular shield, again, is Ve'ishma Yahweh el kol debarikam. Yod Shin Memayan. Well, Shin Memayan is to hear or listen or pay attention to. Yod, he will. He will listen, Yahweh. So in Hebrew, just so you know, in English we say, well, Yahweh will listen. He will listen, Yahweh. So the identifying noun, it comes after the verb action, typically in Hebrew. And then it says Aleph Tav hyphen with Kufav Lamed. Well, Kufav Lamed is voice, kol. Q-O-L, you might want to write it, but it's, or Q-U-L. But it also means noise or thundering. And then debar is word, debari means my word, and kaf mem is y'all. So it's well, is it my word or your word? The personal possessive word of you guys. Yahweh listens to your voice. So see, here's the interesting thing, and why I'm mentioning that. He's listening to everything we're saying, whether or not we see him taking an action yet, whether we see him doing anything about our circumstances on the surface. This verse is saying he's staged, Bet Mem, all these events, Bamidbar, and he's sitting here listening to our voice. I just want to hear what they're going to say about me, what they're going to say about their circumstances. I'm listening. Now, whatever he ends up doing, so imagine using myself as a lab rat, an experimental guinea pig. I'm right here in the middle. I don't know. Right now, I can't see out of this eye. Scheduled for surgery in a couple days. They postponed it from last week. Now, I keep thinking, well, hey, I've heard of stories before where somebody had cancer, they were praying, and their body's full of all kinds of stuff, and they're going to go get surgery, and they go in for one last check before they cut them open, and hey, the cancer's gone. There's nothing to surgery on. Hey, he could do that. He might do that. He should do that for, boy, his great name's renowned. That would be a wonderful thing. But what if he doesn't? Okay, well, at least they'll fix up the eye. Yeah, but what if they don't? Every once in a while, they butcher something by accident, you know. Not their fault, but sometimes it is, sometimes it ain't. I could lose this eye, and if they want to do something with that, I could lose that one too. It's like, doggone it. Well, see, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. I can hope, I can guess, I can expect, but I have no idea what's going to happen. But at any moment, if I knew the future and could say, oh, man, I'm going to see, I was just noticing the day before this happened that I had perfect vision. I could see 2015, 2020, close up, far away. It's like, wonderful. Thank you. Gosh, thank you, Yahweh. I was thankful. And then, take that one. It's like, what? What? Gosh, why? The point is, if we knew we were going to get it back, and it's like, why'd you have a bad attitude? Well, because it's like, no, listen, if you're going on record for eternity, hey, document this guy's attitude. Listen to his words, write them down, write down everything he says. It's going to come back and bite you. It's like, hey, better, whether it's your car breaking down, your eyeball, your insurance claims, anything that might happen. It's like, we're having our voice written down for eternal record. What are they saying about me now? What do they think's going on? So I can choose to have this perspective that Yahuwah is Rafenu. He's our healer. He's our champion. He's our Gabor. He's our Ish Malacham. He's our man of war. He's our champion hero. Yeah, but what's he going to do? Doesn't matter what he does. Yeah, it'd be nice if he did this or that, but it doesn't matter what he does. He's still who he is, and we're still who. I'm still his cute little kadoshi in his hand that's so precious to him. And if we say the right words and do the right things and harbor the right attitude, that's what he cares about. So this is just the opportunity or the occasion to go on record as trusting him, regardless of what actually happens. Okay, is that the way this works? That's the staging of planet Earth. And why I'm saying that is that, again, we go back to Ezekiel 43. Safeguard its entire form, that's shamar, and its rules, that's its chok, and fulfill them, do them. And there's really not that many. His regarded as his Shem HaGadol Kadosh, his great name Kadosh. You can't eradicate, destroy, remove his name and change the letters and call him Lord and God instead of Yahweh and thinking that you're making his great name Kadosh. Okay, so he gave us that to do, make his Shem HaGadol Kadosh. Extol the name Yahuwah. And sit down on Shabbat. And keep his Moedim. And treat one another with emet and chesed, truth and kindness. Balance scales of justice, truth. Don't have uneven weights in your bag, sneaky little ways of distorting equity of payment, of value. Operate in kindness. Okay, well, you still got to protect yourself. Does that mean you shouldn't protect yourself? And I know some people think that, and it's like, well, that's a difficult matter. So if we're going through this whole thing in Ezekiel and we get to 36, 23, hey, make his name Kadosh in the ayin of the Gentiles. That's the understanding, so that the Gentiles amongst whom we've been scattered can have that regard. Do it so that they can operate with that. They can see what you're doing. Okay. Well, how do we regard his stuff? So the whole idea of these shields is we don't have his words. Got them in a book, but they're written in modern Hebrew. Oh yeah, there's something about Paleo. Well, there's nothing written in Paleo. So back in 2004, started writing stuff in Paleo. No, actually maybe later than that. Anyway, but the point is, so these various different shields. So there's a dozen of them. And in this particular book, it starts off on the cover with this thing made in 2004, this emblem of the Shem Zakar. And then I wrote out something about it, describing each of the elements of the graphic. And then this is the, let me go through this one with you. This particular shield is the Aaronic benediction, as it's known. So what it says is, Ivarechecha Yahweh vayishmereka, Ya'er Yahweh panav alecha, vechaneka Isa Yahweh panav alecha, veyasem lecha shalom. And then he goes on to say, Vashemmo et shemi al bnei Israel va'ani abarekam, which is to say, and so you will put my name upon my Bnei Israel, my children of Israel, and I myself will bless them. So when you change his name, you're not putting his name on his children. So he said, what he said, Moshe said, Yahweh said to Moshe, speak to Aaron and his son, saying, this is how you bless my children of Israel. Say these words to them. And he mentions his name 3 times. Well, if you change his name to Hashem, Adonai, or the Lord, or God, that's not his name. Is his name just the pronunciation of the 4 letters, Yod, He, Vav, He, Yahuwah, or Yahweh, or Yahuwah, or Yahuwah? That the disposition of his Shem, the occupation of all his concerns, reputation, includes the recognition of the Moedim and the Sabbath day. So if you're not placing on his children the regard of the Sabbath day and the Moedim, his Moedi of Leviticus 23, you're not placing his name, his Shem, upon his children. You can say these words all you want, and they're not a magic formula invoking his attention. But if you do place his Shem, if you do impart, because the word to place is spelled Shem, Shin Mem. If you Shem my Shem is what it says there. The word Shem is not just name, fame, renown, reputation, occupation of all your concerns, but it's also translated here and there. Here a little, there a little. Shem and Shem. Quoting from another passage. So you will place my Shem upon my people. To place it almost like putting a hat on their head, putting a yoke on their shoulders. And here, take this, carry this. If he is misrepresented by his name, by his Moedim, by his Sabbath day, by his chok, it ain't him. Therefore, he has no obligation to impart this blessing upon his children. Well, this particular, what is his Shem, what is his name? So this particular spiral shield here is followed by 6 variations of how he has declared himself. So it says, Yahweh Elohim Zavot, Yahuwah HaMashiach, El Shaddai, El Elyon, Kana Shamayim Vayeretz, and Ehyeh Ahesher Ehyeh. So I'll read that just so you, this is my translation. This is call it the eriktology translation of what all these words are saying. He will bless you, or he will bet resh kaf, which is Baruch. He will Baruch you. But bet resh, just so you know the analytical methodology here, bet resh kaf. Well, bet could be a prefix, kaf can be a suffix. If kaf is a suffix, meaning you or yours, bet resh is the action verb. Well, bet resh means pure and clean. But if bet is the prefix, meaning in the condition of, resh kaf is the action, not actually a verb, but it means tender and delicate. It's a state of being. So I could say he will barak you, which is pure, clean, tender, delicate, or make you or bring you to that state of being pure, clean, tender, and delicate. He will shamar you. Watch, keep, guard, refine, remove the dregs, which is how you get to the bet resh kaf state. He will yod aleph resh, his face, which is to say, yod, he will aleph, that's that primary letter. What's resh? Resh is the exalted man, the head, the distinctive one. Hey, resh is pregnant. It's also mountain. It's that which is notable. It's that figurehead. It's the ideal. It's the epitome. It's the archetype. To read that as Yod Aleph Resh is the identity and intent archetype as this man. Well, for Yeshua to say, he thought it not robbery to be equal with him. That's the Resh status. For him to go in as the Vav man slain and come out as the Resh man blossoming, Zadi, Kuf Resh, caterpillar type, butterfly type, common man, Vav, Resh man, Ben Yosef, Ben David, or Yosef even went in as a slave in the dungeon and then came out vizier, prime minister. I mean, all these stories are, this is the transition that is our destiny. And if that's what I'm reading in Yod Aleph Resh, Aleph Yod Resh, Ayir, Aleph Vav Resh is light, Aleph Yod Resh means to illustrate. To write the 22 letters as pictorial symbols is to illustrate, which is Aleph Yod Resh. He will make his face distinctively recognizable. He will Yod Aleph Resh his face. So part of the blessing of reading this is not, he will make his face shine upon you. What does that mean? You see, you can say these English words and they sound lofty and sacred, but what do they mean? He will illustrate his face distinctively recognizable. So you can tell the difference between Yahweh Zavot and an Elohim Achrim. You can tell the difference between Mikra Kodesh and any other holiday celebration. And then he goes on to say, what's mine is yours. He will appropriate his virtue, cause you to embody his concerns and values by intent. Meaning, like Jeremiah 31, he'll put his ruach within you and say, I got to do it. I want to do it. I want to do those things. His character proactively, so as an expression of your will from within your being. He will either cause you to embody his concerns or provide the occasion to embody his concerns. Like right now with me, hey, got my eye falling apart. Hey, what a great time to extol his virtues and say, Yahweh Rafenu. Doggone right. He will chen you, ket nun, favor you. Esau, Yod Shin Aleph, means Yod Shin is the word for is, which is to say reality, which is possession and property, which is to say he will own you, but he will give provision, ket nun, graciously at his expense. He will carry the cost, defer the debt, consider you his darling, which would be ket nun yod. You take the two letters and you duplicate them, chen, cheni. Well, it doesn't say that here. It says he will chen, ket nun. Find the word here. It's a derivative. Vav yod chet nun kaf. Ve'yecheneka. Ve'koneka. It's like, if you stop and look at the letters, you'll see, well, wait a minute, chet nun kaf, that's the word Hanukkah. And that means dedication and education. So his face towards beholding you being a charming coquette of his fascination, and he will shem you unto shalom. He will make your place full and complete. That's like that story Pygmalion that we were talking about, My Fair Lady, where he makes you and then loves you for being so. Pygmalion is about a sculptor who made a sculpture and then falls in love with the object of his sculpting. Pygmalion, where that My Fair Lady, where they took this street waif and taught her how to speak, and then the professor falls in love with her for being the ideal of the apple of his eye. He will name you the designated carrier of his seed. See, that's the word shalom, shin lamed vav mem, but shin lamed vav mem. What's mem? Mem is a womb. That's the place to become pregnant. Shin lamed vav is, vav suffix is he or it or the object of, and shin lamed is that which belongs to, and lamed vav is of him, of his, with his authority. Number 12 is the lamed, teach and learn. Yeshua told us that the seed is the word of Elohim, so he imparts his seed to the one who then incubates his seed. That's the word shalom, shin lamed vav mem. You know, Frank Sequins had that thing, shin is teeth which destroy, lamed is an authority, vav is to attach or establish, connect, and mem is chaos. So shalom means destroy the authority that establishes chaos. And it's like, well, that's one way to see the word shalom. Or you could say, he will name you the designated carrier of his seed. Well, a whole different way to say things. It's still the same word. Such that his reputation yoked to their circumstances in such a manner that the concept of my son Israel is directly compared to how a father has desire for his own son to be like him. Now, I'm just reading the words of the Aaronic benediction here, and now I'll read it again, written a different way. He will break you. Bless, I have a break. Yeah, rip your eye out. It's like, wait a minute, he will break you. The word Baruch is where you get the word break or bend the knee, breaking down. The knee joint, same meaning. He will bend his knee to meet you there where he breaks you. I'm not here by himself. I'm gonna rip the retina off your eye, and then I'll stand there with you. I'll be there right in that place. Okay. There at your weakness, at your timid compliance. It's like timid compliance. Why, I've got to be tough and brave and stalwart. It's like, no, resh kaf is timid, soft, mollified. Okay. I'm yours, you're mine. Ani ladodi badodi li. Whatever you want me to go through, okay. That's resh kaf kaf. And then his face, panav, he will turn toward you, turning toward him. And and you're aiming at being, here's the word Chanaka, Chet Nun Kaf, Hanukkah, being educated and dedicated to his sort, which would be his face, his type, or Aleph Lamed Yod Kaf, Aleka. Lamed Yod is my, I will my you, Aleph Lamed Yod Kaf. His concerns, because he is concerned with such specific matters himself, that's Yod Shin Aleph, he will take possession of you as his own, and he will apply, that's Yod Shin Mem, Shin Mem is the word for Shem or name or place or there. He will place that which is his, the Shin Lamed Vav, to you. That which is yours becomes his, and that which is his becomes yours. So their place is Aleph Tav, or my place, together with my son, B'nai Israel. I am strengthening you to fly, to soar. I bring about your, you might say, it's like, see the word I will bless them is Aleph Bet Resh Kaf Mem. But Aleph Bet Resh, which is the first three letters of the word Abraham, means to fly or to soar. The pinion feathers of a wing to, it's not just I will bless you, Aleph Bet Resh Kaf Mem. It's all how you read the word. So I can choose to take any situation that happens, even like this eyeball situation, and say, he's doing this on purpose to provide an occasion for me to soar, to fly as his son with him. That's why he's allowing this, doing this, providing this. What a wonderful thing. Thank you. Thank you. And then the different ways to read these 6 words of his name. Yahweh Elohim Zavot. Yahweh Elohim, armies, hosts, military legions, establishing and inflating the essence of each alphabet letter being a symbolic graphic of his sworn oath to emplace and cause to flourish, Aleph becoming Tav. And I say that because the word Zavot, Zadibet Aleph Vav Tav, Zadibet Aleph means armies, hosts, or legions, and Aleph Vav Tav is a word that's a sign, a symbol, an emblem, an oath, letter of the alphabet. Every letter is a symbolic piece of the oath, or a statement, the debar of the oath of his sworn relationship between himself and B'nai Israel. Yahusha HaMashiach. He delights to save, redeem, deliver, as expressed in the communique. See, the word Shin Yod Het means the communication, or that which is conversed. What is the conversation? The conversation comes out of these words. It is words. It's the relationship. It's the gimling between Aleph and Bet. It's the tether. It's the language between the Father and the Son, which is embodied or retained in this wiggling strand of these 22 letters. And he does as is meditated upon and conversed about accordingly. That's the word HaMashiach. It's not just Messiah, anointed. It's to meditate and ponder and speak about his stuff and what he said. He's going to save, help, redeem, deliver. That's Yahusha. And to delight, Shasha, Shinayan, Shinayan, is to say, hey, you're my delight. He delights to save. Well, he's got to allow us to get in a predicament in order to save us, okay? If he kept us all safe and clean and dry and never harmed, nothing to save. So I can say, well, gosh, understanding these letters and the way things work is the meaning of Yeshua HaMashiach. And to say Yahusha's narrative story, gospel tale is right in these 22 letters, that makes him Mashiach, because the Mashiach is the string of 22 letters, what they mean. That's the communication that he prescribed. So I can say that looking at this Hebrew alphabet is the Ruach HaKodesh, is Yahusha HaMashiach, is the mind and determination of our Father, his craving desire to manifest or to but I could say, we don't want to turn these things into idols. We don't want to, make the alphabet god or some sort of focus of undue attention. It's in the card set, the paleo letters drawn this way are white with just colored backgrounds. It's almost like they represent the spirit of the letter, the idea of the letter, the concept behind the letter. And then there's the pictograph, like drawn with fingers on stone. That's like the earth, the celestial Mishkan pattern in the clouds, air, fire letters, Chaldean, and then the water, the modern cursive. So you got earth, air, fire, water as these backgrounds. The modern cursive almost drawn like ripples. It's just addressing the four elements. But what I'm saying is that they're all the same letters, but the paleo letters, it's not that you were staring at the letter and making those orthographic shapes some kind of idol. It's the idea. It's the reason why the Orthodox Church has icons. They make humans look distorted, Jesus and the apostles and all. They draw funny, strange-looking people, so we don't think, oh, he's trying to be a great artist and draw like a Rembrandt or some kind of Leonardo da Vinci painting or Michelangelo or something. It's like, no, we're going to distort them so that you'll just get the idea and look past the picture into what the picture is about. That's the Orthodox thinking of the icons, which is an interesting consideration. It's the same kind of thing as looking at the letters, actually. Anyway, El Shaddai, provider of all benefits, majestic and ultimate, the destroyer of all opposition. So just like Sheen's teeth were drawn like two fangs to incise her teeth, you got the provider of all benefits, the destroyer of all opposition. The ultimate, Aleph Lamed, majestic and ultimate. El Elyon, Aleph Lamed, Ayin Lamed, Yod Vav Nun, most high, deity of power and strength, all position, or the position and effect to promote success, to elevate to excellence, and to exalt to dignity or raise to peerage. Well, if we really do think that of him, and like that other shield saying, in spite of all this, you really don't have faith, you really don't trust him, or you're not faithful to him because you think he's leaving something out and you think you got to reach for that forbidden fruit and eat that and you'll get something that he wasn't going to give you. So why did our forefathers, our predecessors of Israel, so fail him for the 40 years in the wilderness? And then even in the promised land, we keep turning away. Why? Don't really trust him. Don't really believe the whole thing. So again, the reason for making these shields is to say, these are the matters that matter. These are the bar that have significance. I need to conduct my mind and my heart. Not a matter of going around with a sword and converting the hordes of other nations to some religion. I need to make sure my heart stays true. And he gave us the merechefeting ruach, sit down in Shabbat. Observe his moedim. Don't copy the celebrations of the other nations and don't eat their food. Don't eat what is unclean. And he said, as we read in other places, that one complaint that Yahuwah has against his Kohanim is that they fail to make the distinction between the holy and the profane, the kadosh and the halal, the sacred and the you might say the vulgar. Teaches people there is a difference. Don't wear certain types of clothing because it messes up your electronic health vibration. Don't eat certain food. It'll abominate you, make you ill, or lessen your vibration to even comprehend or appreciate his stuff. Even if you don't know why, just don't do it. And his priests fail. He still uses them as priests. There's things we can read, I think it's in Ezekiel, saying when it talks about the sons of Zadok, they remained true to his charge, the things he said to guard, to shemer what he said to shemer mashamar, to to guard the things that I said to guard. The sons of Zadok were doing that, so he's going to give them a special position. But the other priests, the other Kohanim and Levites who went astray with the people and conducted services and festivities, let's say, of secularized religion practices rather than kadosh protocols, he was going to have them be servants in the temple. So it's like you read that and it's like, he's not going to just say, burn in hell. Somehow he's going to reject some people. He's going to put you might say, a hamper certain people, and other people he'll give esteem and regard. I can't sit here and say who gets into the pearly gates. The question is, how do we do what he said to do? El Elyon, the Most High, if that's our ideal, that we're in his eye, it doesn't matter what the monsters are saying. He can elevate to excellence, exalt to dignity, raise to peerage, and promote success. So in Yeshua, when it says of Yeshua, he didn't consider it to be robbery to be equal to Elohim. It's because he saw something in the truth. Being a human he determined, Yahusha, this is my understanding, before he became the human, he existed in some sort of realm of existence, whatever you want to call that. And he determined that however great that was, that it was just the Father and him, whatever format of materialization in the unmaterialized heavenly realm, I don't know. But upon making the heavens and the earth, the material cosmos, this universe, and making human beings, he determined that it was a better thing to become a human. That was better. Yeah. And to go through this death and coming out the other side of death, to be killed as an Adam, Adam, to suffer the mortality of Adamness and then pop out the other side, the Resh status, was a better dignity, a higher status than even right there, whatever that looked like with Elohim before he ever did that. So this is a really high calling for us to be offered that same equality. And when I say equality, Yahusha in the Garden of Gethsemane, there's a cartoon somebody wrote. It shows him sitting there and says, "Hi, Dad, it's me, you." What? Hi, Dad, it's me, you? When he claimed to be equal or to be echad, to be one with his Father, and then he prayed that we would be one with him in the same way. Was he saying that he wanted us to be God? And it's like, again, bad English words, but there's this understanding to be had that can't be grasped with the English words. It just doesn't work. And if we look at the Hebrew, it is a vehicle or a conduit conducting us closer towards whatever it is he wanted us to comprehend. So then plugging the Hebrew alphabet into being the word, the dabar of John 1:1, those 22 letters spelled this way, that's the word. You spell words, you speak words. And so the word spelled with the 22 Hebrew letters, that's the word of John 1:1, and he used that word by which to make the universe, even human mind and human heart and human beingness, Adam's everything in his mind, the way that everything processes, is all a function of that word. And so when we look back at that word and behold him who's otherwise unbeholdable, it's in this word. So he made this word to be a spectacular invention. Gosh. Okay, so as I contemplate the matters within this word, that's his Ruach, that's his Mashiach, that's his mechanism of saving us delightfully, that's his Yahusha. I'm not making an idol of the word. I'm realizing the word is kind of like the horse for us to ride. It's the Zeus. It's the vehicle that he's provided of as it were, this galloping, bounding, riding, the wave of the wind of the Ruach. Contemplating, meditating, phonetically spelling words, pondering the letters. It's a riding of the wind, the Ruach, the Ruah of Ruach. Anyway, Kana Shemayim Ve'eretz, Kuf Nun Hey, he calls himself Kuf Nun Aleph, which is powerfully jealous and zealous, fanatical over his stuff, but Kuf Nun Hey means maker, thus possessor of heaven and earth. Kuf Nun is a bird's nest. Bird that made it owns the nest. Shemayim, heavens and earth, eretz, but Shemim, Shin Mem is name, place, renown. So to pluralize that, but Shin could be the prefix and Mem Yod means who, W-H-O, like who? Who's this about? So you could say the places with identity, thus meaning, like the stars, we could read that as the Shemayim or the heavens, and eretz meaning earth, is that Aleph is the prefix letter, means I will, and Resh Zadi is run. I'm going to run, proactively determined, intentional, volitional. So he's the determinator and constructor of the course to run for his own regard. And for him to say, I'm going to make the earth, so and then I'm going to, here's the garden with a garden path, and then he who had no body was going to make himself a body with a foot so he could come down and walk the path or run the course for his own purposes. That's the meaning of the word eretz. I will, Aleph, and this resh status, Zadi, blossom. So I'm going to determine that it's better for me to do this than not do this. I'm going to become one of these Adams and have this experience that he couldn't have in his capacity as Elohim in the, let's say, the heavens before there was the cosmos heavens. There's some other realm of heavens. And he thought, yeah, I've been doing this for jillions of years before there was time, and I'm going to do this other thing. That'll be better. That's the meaning of the word eretz. Ehyeh asher ehyeh. It's like we've talked before, dot, line, dot. What is manifest, that's the hay, is being evident as what exists, that the yod that made the hay is the expression, the hay of the aleph, which accomplishes the intent as originally calculated. I'm just reading aleph, hay, yod, hay, backwards, hay, yod, hay, aleph. What you see, the intent, aleph, expressed, hay, built, yod, as it is able to be perceived and apprehended by the one having the experience of seeing it. So whether it's the word, the cosmos, the being, the whatever. What is manifest, being evident as what exists, is the expression which accomplishes the intent as originally calculated. I'm just reading Aleph Hey Yod Hey. What was made to be, what is exactly as the originator caused with purpose. Another way to read it, I exist, authentic, I am the causal agent. See, so anybody who says, I don't believe in God, it's you don't understand Ehyeh. Okay. Because Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh says, I'm the guy that planned and made this happen. Okay, that's where it starts. That's Alephness. So this is found in number 6, 23 to 26. So again, going back to Ezekiel, Son of Man, calculate the design of what? The Bet, the temple. The Bet isn't just the temple. It's to be taught, trained, and domesticated of his house, of his heart, of his ways. And everything about his house, his heart, his ways was to build this universe, to make this earth, to have Adamic, call them humans, to know him, to be achad with him, synchronized with him, to listen to his voice, to have a heart to guard his ways, and do his ways, walking in his ways. That's what it's all about. So then to have teachings from any source that say, we don't have to do what he said, we don't have to walk in his ways, there's nothing to do, they're nailed to the cross. Those are lies. It fundamentally opposes what is intrinsically, inherently the reality. So that word that we mentioned last week that means inherent, intrinsic, responsibility, regard. Once you know what that is, and it's found in, as I said, reading, analyzing these words, as you focus in on what Yahuwah said, these other things become apparently counterfeit, disturbingly so. It's like, wow, why can't you see it? Because when you, it's kind of like what they call the siren song, the book written by Homer called Odysseus. The sailors on ancient sailing ships, when they got close to these certain rocks, they'd hear these, they didn't know what they were called siren, women's voices, mermaids or whatever they were, singing beautifully and beckoning, homing in the sailors. Oh, I gotta hear that voice clear. Where is she? Who's that singing? And then the ships would be destroyed on the rocks by the ocean waves. Well, people have determined, well, that's just some crazy ancient folklore, or it's actually the wind blowing through the rocks would create these harmonics, attracting, lulling, pulling them in to hear them better. That's basically the merachefeting of the Ruach. How do I attune my ear to want to be pulled in by his vibration, attraction to that voice? Because one's going to destroy you like the siren song in the Odyssey of Homer, and the other one's going to give you life, but it's going to destroy, you might say, your normal relationship with your peers, your culture, your countrymen, your family, your nation or religion on the face of the earth, to the extent that it varies from the resonance of that song. And the more we look at his words, the more refined, the more clear, the more precise that, as it were, the cymatic geometric structure becomes clarified, becomes beautified. The next one in this book happens to be the first day of creation, which is the first 5 verses of Genesis. So let me just read what I have on this. And again, what I'm doing here, yes, it says, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashemayim ve'et ha'aretz, ve'ha'aretz hayata tohu ve'bohu, ve'chosek al panei tahom, ve'ruach Elohim merachefet, there's that word, al panei hamayim, vayamer Elohim yehi or, vayahi or, vayira Elohim et ha'or ki tov, vayivdal Elohim bin ha'or ubin ha'chosek, vayikra Elohim la'or yom, ve'la'chosek kra laila, vayahi erev, vayahi boker yom echad. Okay, so there's many different translations you can find online, or your favorite Bible, King James or Tanakh or whatever. But I tried to reread all these words and put them into this other composition. The intro in first day of creation, the arrangement of pieces by which the cosmos universe would be materialized, heavens and earth, driven by Aleph Tav, the one word never translated, here the fourth word, Bereshit bara Elohim et, that word et, the fourth word of the 7 words in Genesis 1:1. Aleph is pictured as an ox head or arrow point aimed at the direction of Tav, the marked target objective. Shemayim, translated as heavens, could be seen as waters, which is Shin Mem Yod Mem. Shin Mem is place, the place of waters, or places with identity and specifically located with purpose, as one might lay out a garden or plan city zoning or arranging a banquet table. Hence the meaning of the word Shemayim, that we talked about a moment ago. The earth, Eretz, can be read as I will run. I am volitionally taking on the 22 challenges of the obstacle course indicated by letters Aleph through Tav and running the gamut for my own pleasure and purpose. I designed and accommodated this experience and suited myself to entertain it. Oh, that's verse 1. What a great idea. Mind-blowing, head on fire. Head on fire, mind-blowing. Well, bet, resh, aleph, shin. So bet can be the prefix letter means on. Resh is head, and aleph shin was the fire. You got to turn your microphone off there. Adela, sharp. Yeah, thank you. The person, yeah. Bad connection there. Okay, verse 2. The eretz was formless and void. No object, no elements, no space, no electromagnetic frequency, no plus-minus rating of electron or proton, no thing identifiable or workable. Hence the word chosek, translated darkness, but it means non-functional, unproductive, incapable. The potential of what creation would be, could be, should be, is at this juncture unrealized, a mystery, only an idea or a scheme in the mind of Elohim, unformulated desires leaning toward becoming expressions. Then the specific concept pictured by each of the 22 letters in expanse and chronological array, classified as Ruach of Elohim, oscillated, vibrated, wiggled as the string of 22 notions, a sequence of events or arrangement of considerations, a massless collection of information retained in relationship to each other by representative symbols or gestures or means of communication, like a scent, which is resh yod het, rich, on the wind, which is ruah, or resh vav hey, for a perceiver to ascertain, which then would require a perceiver to be so equipped, which would be Adam, al panay, to distinguish the difference and identify the character of each, that's mem yod, who, of the Shemayim, hey mem, them. In other words, how do you reread these words that the Ruach of Elohim merechefeted al panay tehom, according to the face of each of them, according to the face of each of these letters? It's translated on the surface of the deep. Different way to read it. And then to make use of such intelligence that the perceiver is transformed or made better off for the doing so. Expanding and separating into functional features, that's the word merechefet, distinguished and identifiable by service or use, like teeth arranged and set on a key to open a secreted lock, the word merechefet, designed with the intent to be determinable by someone for some reason and at some opportune occasion, none of which exists in the venue of tohu vebohu. And then, so there is a sequence of events happening. So the concept of time or evolution or the process of one matter following a predecessor now exists. A statement is declared. So voice and word are at this point a thing that was not previously. Voice is vibration, which is the merechefet oscillation of the dabar, the word. The letters dalet, bet, and resh had to have definition before it could be determined that together they, the three letters, could express what would be understood as word, as in reference in John 1:1, or the Gospel of John. So the phrase Yehi Or is a merd, and Yehi Or is what happens exactly as it was declared to do so, and it functioned as it had been loaded to be effective and exhibited itself Tov in the assessment of Elohim. Then Elohim separated between the light and between the dark, between the functional and non-functional, by the two sorts of engagement between them, blending and breaking apart. Two means of interaction, pleasant and abrupt, a well-mixed soiree of compatibility, where the two are in affinity and the two at rift, separated by a furrow between them. The Yom existed echad as one unified via the two means of interface between light and dark, Erev and Boker, sociable with each other and alienated from each other. A picture of an airbrushed gray tones versus the juxtaposition of black and white. All that is just reading day one. So anyway, if that's who our Elohim is, then the reason for having this on a shield where you say, well, that's him. That's my Dodi. So then this here, who exactly is he? This one is the place in Exodus where he actually came down, put Moshe in the cleft of the rock, passed by and declared himself. I'll read this one here. Yod Resh Dalet, Yerad. It's translated descended, and the word for cloud is Bet Ayin Nun Nun. Ayin Nun Nun would be cloudy or clouds. So then, descended, radiated, flowing as might a river. Yahweh covered in clouds or clouded at the word clouded also means at the task with interest, a serious matter of occupation becoming actual or realized, empty theory proving to be relevant. Well, see, Ayin Nun being cloud is like our taking on the obligation, the intensive occupation of Ayin Nun Hey in Isaiah 58, translated fasting or humble yourself. It's like, take on the burden of making this your obsession. So he did that. So again, he's not asking us to do anything any different than what he does. That's in the word cloud. Or Ayin Vav Nun is the word for iniquity. Anyway, it's a derivative spelling. He consolidated. So when he's known as Yahweh's Avot, Zadi Bet, Aleph Vav Tav, there's this word here which is spelled Yod Zadi Bet. There's more to the word. I don't see it here. Anyway, it has to do with consolidated, or the ethereal becoming real, the cloud becoming a water droplet, you might say. He presented himself firm, stationed, absolute, irrevocable, undeniable with his people, right here. And he gave prestige to the precious name Yahuwah, taught how to value it as the ultimate dignity. Just that statement right there. His name has been eradicated, erased, thrown away. Yeah, Yahweh, Shemaweh. It's like, what? We have no idea the great dignity to how to fathom the significance of this comprehension, this understanding of what it is we're talking about here in these studies. His name. Who is he really? The Lord God, Jehovah. No, it's beyond that. It's so beyond that. It can only be captured in these words, his language. And he called out, Yahuwah, Yahuwah. He who will learn to read establishes the reality towards comfort, compassion, feathers the nest of mercy and affection as a warm womb. He loves scholars. Yahuwah is inclined toward his beloved, those who love his words enough to pay the price for the most precious treasure and honor, and he finds charming one who is soft and delicate toward his mouth. Graceful, I will soften. What's written there is long nose or slow to anger. I will open myself and multiply tender loving kindness as a mother's true heart. And then there's this, in this passage, there's an enlarged nun, and then later there's an enlarged resh. The enlarged nun, picture a fortress placed high in the craggy rock, Zadi resh, secret, hidden refuge of tender loving kindness, guarded, protected, wrapped up in a camouflage cocoon 1,000 times stronger, like an elephant picking up and carrying thousands, nullifying their iniquity and rebellion, their criminal acts of intentional sin, absolving them, cleansed, free from guilt or punishment. That's Nun Kuf Hey. Pronouncing innocent, total acquittal, Yahuwah being the only one in position to pronounce such a thing, being the Kana, Kuf Nun Hey, this is Nun Kuf Hey, maker, thus possessor of heaven and earth. Not, now there's the negative of the same thing. He will not pronounce innocent, recalling iniquity, holding accountable that which had been entrusted, that's Pei Kuf Daled, visiting with revenge for what is found to be missing, the iniquity of fathers upon children and upon children of children unto third and fourth. That's the number 3 is relaying, like a relay, this to this to this. And number 4 means propagating, like fertility. It's kind of like a DNA code, handing down genetic complications throughout generations, nurturing environmental traditions. So whether it's DNA or it's environmentally, because no, nay, never will there be to one who bows down prostrate to another God any future strange or foreign. There's no yield. He will not live. He will not find chet. Yet, however, I swear in my open hand, and then here's where the large resh comes in the word achar, because Yahweh is kana, kuf nun aleph, jealous, zealous, fanatical. His name, his reputation, and powerfully jealous, zealous at that. He is more so than the title suggests. So this word spelled nun resh, why would there be these two enlarged letters in this passage? Nar, like menorah. Nar means flowing, streaming, beaming, blatant, not hidden, a lighthouse beacon, clearly foretelling of safety or doom. You could read nun resh as engage the resh man's stature. Be, expect, operate at full value as expected of you to be. Having done all, stand, stalwart. So then the prevailing question is, what is resh of such distinction? Hey resh the mountain, to be pregnant, mem hey resh, anxious, hastening, urgency, serious business, the purchase price of acquiring a wife. Mem hey resh can be also seen as the death of Mashiach, so as to resurrect from the dead. How should we then live, providing no place for Elohim Achrim, no legends or festivals in their regard? What manner of lifestyle must the of Yahweh, the people of Yahweh, Israel, be engaged in to be innocent and guiltless of such a high crime of offense to Yahweh, if we should, and then here's the spelling of the word here, Tav Shin Tav Chet Vav Hey, which is found actually in the dictionary in Hey Shin Tav Chet Vav Aleph Hey, which means to bow down, prostrate before an Elohim Achrim. And so then there's these words that mean boundary, set a border, Tav Chet Vav Mem, which is a derivative of that. So the word that means bow down or prostrate literally is a derivative of the word that means a boundary, set a border, draw the line, demarcation, limited confines, domain circumscription. It's actually the same as the word definition. He said, listen, I'm drawing the line right here. Anybody that does this, you're out. You're done. You're not part of my people. It's like, wow, what is that? No other Elohim. He's willing to carry like an elephant 1,000 times. Foolish, stupid, marauder, criminal acts. If we turn our heart back to him, there's forgiveness. But if we bow down to an Elohim Achrim, forget it. And it's like, and I had to face my own life and say, did I culturally and through my family or DNA or what? Was I worshiping Jesus Christ as a God? Was he an Elohim Achrim? Who is Yahweh Zavot? His witness is retained in his Sabbath day and his Moedim. What's the matter? I had to recognize the distinction. Tav Chet Chet, loose, crumbled or loosened earth. Tav Chet Yod He, revival, renaissance, rebirth, resurrection. Tav Chet Nun He, prayer for mercy, for favor. These are all derivatives of that word. How shall we recognize an El Achar of foreign identity that not of Yahweh Elohim Zavot? What measure, what standard of Aini, re-evaluation, such that I remain Yashar as his Kadoshi? Well, see, these are the matters on these shields. In other words, if we are reading through Ezekiel, it's like, gosh, we can come back and be his people. I want to be his people. How? These matters upon our heart. Anyway, the next one here is about the Moedim. And then the next one is about say them. Don't be afraid of the monsters. It's all staged in the language. Anyway, and then there's a total of 12 of these, and I'm putting it together in the format of a book like this, where they'll be all written up, and then there's some of the other things in here. The map of Anaximanders era, the Alberta almond flower, and these other ones that we did that we talked about a couple weeks back. The Ani Ladodi Vedodi Li. These things will all be in here. The one with the written on my heart. Anyway, I'll make these available when I get it done. That's just another project in the works. Anyway, it looks like we're out of time here.
Yes.
Would somebody like, Carla, you want to close off, and then we'll...
Yes. Thank you, Abba Yahweh Savaot, once again for bringing us together, for filling us with thy word. We praise thee, Father, and we ask that thou would continue filling us and giving us discernment so that we may, with thee, write as we read the story that thou hast created for us, to find who we are in whom thou hast made us to be. Behashem Yahweh Yahusha. Amen.